I don't fear AI anymore because it couldn't possibly be any more robotic than the humans who run things now.
You can't call it a drought if it happens all the time. In a story I'm getting tired of reporting, California is running out of water, and this time, just when we started showering again. 19,000 acres of forest have already burned this year, and 72% of the entire West is in severe drought. Turns out hot girl summer is for reals.
As California sinks further into what many describe as a tangled web of heavy rules and out-of-touch decisions, Bill Maher didn't stay quiet. He went directly after Gavin Newsom, breaking down what he sees as oversized regulations and poor choices step by step. This is the kind of detailed critique you'll want to hear all the way through. If you appreciate blunt opinions and independent thinking, hit subscribe and let's get into it.
The median time to get approval to build a house there, 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits. 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a t-shirt that says Federal Inspector. It's no wonder that in 2021, San Francisco issued only 2,000 permits for new homes. Sure, there are people living in the streets, but that's because we want to make sure the apartments they don't live in are perfect.
Imagine trying to climb a giant mountain made of paperwork just to get permission to build a simple house. The forms alone would drive anyone crazy. Bill points out that today it can take nearly 3 times longer to get approval than it did to build famous landmarks in New York City many decades ago. And that helps explain why, even a year after the destructive Los Angeles wildfires, only a small number of homes have actually been rebuilt. A recent report shows most families who lost their houses are still living in temporary places, whether that's in nearby towns, other parts of California, or even overseas. You might expect a state that collects some of the highest income taxes in the country to respond faster and provide real solutions. But according to critics, California seems to be moving in the opposite direction.
California is the place that spends money and gets nothing, which is why you may have noticed when the fires broke out, no one escaped by high-speed rail. We have the highest marginal tax rate in America, higher than almost all other states, and soon Greenland. Now, is wokeness the main reason for the fires? Of course not. But it's also not wrong to associate some of the unforced errors our government made with the things normies see as hallmarks of uber-progressive politics. Questionable budget priorities, high taxes that get you nothing, making everything about identity politics, virtue signaling overseas instead of tending to the nuts and bolts at home.
This, supporters of Maher argue, is what happens when policies focus more on ideology than outcomes. California, they say, has become a warning example. When leaders spend too much time checking political boxes and expanding government control into every corner of daily life, basic needs can get ignored. Water management is one clear example. Residents have been worried for years about worsening droughts and shrinking water supplies. Many believe a leader with urgency would have made it a top priority. Yet critics say that under Gavin Newsom, the issue keeps getting delayed while attention shifts elsewhere.
We have spent the last 2 decades in perpetual drought here, yet almond farmers in California have doubled in that time. Despite the fact that almond production alone uses more water than all the humans and businesses in San Francisco and Los Angeles combined. Even on days when your teenage son spends 2 hours showering. Look at this chart of how much water it takes to grow different crops. Oranges, tomatoes, strawberries, all take about 11 gallons to make 1 pound. Almonds, 1,900 gallons. That wasn't a problem back when it rained, but now there simply isn't enough water to go around, and we have to make a painful choice, getting it to the people or getting it in the nuts.
Supporters of this criticism argue California simply cannot afford mistakes like this, especially as wildfires grow more severe each year. There's very little room left for error. What frustrates many people is that Newsom has urged residents to reduce their personal water use, which some feel barely addresses the deeper issue. Almond farming alone uses close to 90% of the state's water supply. So everyday families are told to conserve, while larger industries continue operating at massive levels. And it doesn't stop there. Major corporations also consume huge amounts of resources, yet critics say they rarely receive the same level of public pressure or attention.
You know, it's not like California doesn't know how to regulate. Oh, they know. We are the most regulated state in the nation with more than 395,000 regulatory restrictions. It is a constant nightmare of inspectors and permits and fees. In this state, if you get to your car 10 seconds after the parking meter expires, it's already gone and you'll never see it again. California has rules about every nitpicky thing you can imagine. If you don't believe me, try parking in Santa Monica, or starting a business, or getting your solar power hooked up.
It's no surprise that some residents feel the system favors the powerful. When large corporations seem to move forward without much trouble while regular families struggle just to get permits to rebuild their homes, the imbalance feels obvious. And according to Maher and others, these concerns didn't just appear overnight. They point to a longer pattern of management issues that have built up over time.
But for 30 years, Nestle took water out of the San Bernardino National Forest under a permit that expired in 1988. And Coca-Cola is somehow allowed to take water from municipal water supplies, stick it in bottles, and sell it back to the taxpayers who own the water to begin with. 395,000 regulations, but somehow that slipped through the cracks? For a state that just loves to be up everybody's ass all the time, water management might be a better place to direct that instinct.
One example often mentioned is a high-speed rail project designed to connect San Francisco to Los Angeles. Since 2008, around $15.7 billion has been invested into the effort. Yet the project remains far behind schedule, and total projected costs have ballooned, possibly reaching as high as $128 billion. Maher made a sharp comparison, suggesting that if something like Mount Rushmore had to be approved under California-style regulations today, it might never get finished. He made it clear he was not holding back in his criticism.
But just as an exercise in realizing how far we've regressed as the can-do people, I think we should all try to imagine how it will go down if we tried to sculpt Mount Rushmore out of a mountain today. First, we'd have to make the mountain handicap accessible, so we could hire handicapped people to work on the side of a mountain. Then there'd be a 10-year delay while we studied the effect of construction noise on the mating habits of woodchucks. Then another 10 years to obtain ethically sourced dynamite and find a sculptor who doesn't only work from home. And then another 2 years to apologize for being on Indian land. And finally, after 50 years and a cost that had ballooned to $100 billion, we'd have half a nostril, and it wouldn't be Lincoln, it'd be Che Guevara.
It may sound dramatic, but that's the point he's trying to make. When regulations exist mainly to appear impressive while quietly trapping people in endless delays, they stop serving their purpose. Instead of protecting citizens, they become obstacles. Rules are supposed to help people, not suffocate them. The solution, according to this view, isn't complicated. Put leaders in charge who understand that government should serve the public, not frustrate it. That means creating laws that are practical, cutting unnecessary bureaucracy, and focusing on real results rather than appearances. When efficiency improves, public trust can grow. Without that change, critics believe progress will remain stuck. Share your thoughts in the comments.